Welcome to r/relationships, where we get to hear people's relationship problems. I, F25, want to disown my toxic sister, F30. I'm the youngest of 3 sisters. My eldest sister, who is now 30, has become so toxic in my life. I would really be happy if I never had to see or talk to her again. Unfortunately, she lives with my parents. She has a husband and 2 children, but has pretty much always lived with my parents. Her husband is 12 years older than her, divorced with 2 children from the previous marriage. She has always been resentful of the other children, and he has told me some awful stuff that she has said to him about them. She said she wouldn't care if they died, and that if he/husband died, she wouldn't take her children to see the half-siblings because they mean nothing to her. Growing up, she was not a very nice sister. She was abusive verbally and physically. There were also 2 incidents of her being sexually abusive toward me. She was probably 12 over 13 at the time, and I'm 5 years younger. Looking back now, I think that is why she was so mean to me after those incidents happened, as a way of scaring me. As we got older, I was willing to try to be friends, and especially when she had children, I thought she would change, but unfortunately not. She only texts me if she want to have a go about something, which is rare as I avoid my family because of all the drama she starts. Last year in March, she caused a huge argument because she didn't want my other sister to move back into the family home when quarantine started, and now she hasn't spoken a single word to the middle sister or my dad for 11 months, even though they all live together. My middle sister has become so depressed by the situation and moved out, as the older sister uses her kids to get to people. She will tell them to stay away from the horrible people, and then they repeat it to her. Also, if anyone tries to stand up to her, she will threaten them with, "You're never going to see my children again." We have both decided that we would like to completely cut contact with the eldest sister. Unfortunately, my mother defends her and says she is just finding stuff hard at the moment, but that doesn't explain her behavior her whole life. My dad gave her a job when she dropped out of school at 17, and she was rude to her colleagues and always late, but obviously she never got fired and is so entitled now because she has never had things hard financially. Plus, my mum has cooked/cleaned/babysat the whole time they have been at the house. I just think it's so strange and has put such a strain on my relationship with my mum, because every time I FaceTime her, my eldest sister and her husband are there, and I don't like seeing them. My dad has acknowledged her behavior to me privately and has told me he will be moving out when he can. I'm so sad by the stress and rift she has made between the rest of us. I'm not sure how to cut her out of my life without upsetting my mother. I have tried to talk to her about it, but she can't see it. Now for the advice. Honestly, that's rough on so many levels. I'd talk with your middle sister so the 2 of you are consistent and on the same page with this, as that can send a message. As someone with a toxic family member, I can offer the approach I used, but won't say this is the way. I'll spare the details, as this is your post, but basically I will not speak to my father, and told my stepmom and sisters that they are welcome to come see me at any time, but I won't be going to their home anymore. The open line of communication can still be offered, but keep in mind that you can't force someone else's behavior. In the end, all you can do is solidify relationships with those you can rely on. Your sister wouldn't be getting away with any of this without your mother's enabling, so I'm not sure why you're so concerned about upsetting her. Just like your sister, she needs to realize there are consequences for her actions. Your mother is willfully ignoring some very toxic behavior. Yes, it has secretly made me resent my mum, which is very sad as I love her, but I do feel like she created a monster in a way by just always pandering to my sister. When I tried to talk to her about it, she gets upset and feels like I'm blaming her. I suggested that maybe everything would improve if my sister and her husband moved out. They can afford it and actually own quite a bit of property that they rent out to other people. However, my sister is so revengeful and threatening, she has always been scared that she will say my mum won't be allowed to see the children anymore. I have accepted that as the consequence of cutting her out of my life, but it would break my mother's heart to not see her grandchildren. Now for the next story. I, 25, don't think I will marry my GF, 25. We have been together for almost 6 years now, and we have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter who I adore so much. My 25 meters. GF 25 is slowly turning out to be the girl I don't picture myself getting married. I always knew she was lazy. She was always a spoiled brat. Her mother used to do everything for her. She used to wash her clothes, cook for her, iron her clothes and even clean after her. Before her mother passed away, we moved in together because it's something she always wanted to do. I had to cook, clean the house, wash my own clothes. We just ended up with lots of arguments. So we decided to leave the moving in, or actually I decided to leave because 1, I didn't want my child seeing her parents always fighting. 2, I really felt like we will lose each other. Her mother passed on. My GF was staying alone for a while, until she brought up the thing of moving in together again. So we had a long discussion about how we going to go into this now. We discussed chores, who will do what, and when. Financial situations. All these things. We've now been staying together for 6 months. She didn't hold on to her promises. I worked like a slave here. She doesn't cook, nor clean. I have to bath, and make sure the kid go to school. I come from work, I clean. I have to make sure I cook. I can literally count on one hand how many times she cooks something for us. One night I decided not to cook. When she came from work I asked her to cook something. She decided to make herself tea and eat rusks and then went to bed, not even caring if the child ate. The next day I discussed that with her, and she gave me the "I thought we'll help each other" thing. It's not helping if you're not doing anything. The day before yesterday she said she'll cook me a nice dinner since she's off the next day. What did she do? She invited her friends and they got drunk here. My daughter went to bed without eating. After her friend left at 10 p.m. I asked her what happened to the dinner now. Apart from all of these things, she doesn't know what she wants from life. I only know she wants to get married because I gave her a child. But I can't marry someone who is not willing to build a house with me. Someone who doesn't want to make this house a home. She is literally like a guest here. If you ask her now, where is the iron? She doesn't know. But it's supposed to be a house. If I bring up these things, it's like I wanna bring her down or something. She makes it look like I'm the guy who doesn't want to accept her GF the way she is. And it's not true. I just want us to work together. I don't have a problem doing those things, but I want to also feel like she is doing her part. She will leave the house in a mess when she leave in the mornings. I feel like I don't even know myself anymore. I've turned into this guy who do all these things to make someone happy who doesn't even want to try and make me happy. It feels like I'm carrying this whole household and relationship. I don't want this for the rest of my life. I brought this up because I heard her speaking to her friend that it looks like I'm not planning on marrying her. Now for the advice. I would honestly end this relationship right now. Like she is not doing anything to help you out. A relationship always has to be 50-50, but she does not do shit. She does not care for you. She does not care for your daughter, yes yours, because from the way you have described I can see you're the only parent here. She sees you as a servant who will do everything for her and a cash cow who she can borrow money from. You should give her an ultimatum. If she doesn't follow through, don't hesitate to break up. Also try to collect as much evidence as possible of her being a neglectful parent. It will help you win custody for your daughter. Please, if she can make your daughter go hungry to bed, I would take away my daughter as far away from her if I can. This just shows the lack of love for you and your daughter. Hope you do well. You are basically going to have to stop supporting her. Move out again. Don't live together anymore, so she can get her shit together. It's not about just not marrying her, it's about breaking up, so that you can find someone else who will be a good partner to you, and a good mom to your kid. So because there's a kid involved, talk to a lawyer. She does not seem to care about her own child's well-being, and that means it's in your kid's best interest for you to get full custody. You need a lawyer for that. Consider this the equivalent of divorce. Talk to a lawyer to maximize your chances of getting custody and follow the lawyer's instructions about what to tell her and when. I'm sorry that this is happening to you. I was spoiled by my mom, and when I first moved out I really didn't think about things like cleaning. It wasn't part of my life. I remember my BF getting mad I didn't do his laundry or mop the kitchen floor or whatever. At first I thought he was crazy, but then I learned because things do need to get swept, mopped, dusted, cooked, laundered. So if she just needed a learning curve, I would recommend patience. But she seems far beyond that. And the fact that she has a child who she lets go hungry is so unforgivable to me. That's beyond clueless but teachable to me. Now for the next story. F. 34, M. 32. How can I help? My sister realized that her actions are jeopardizing her relationship with her husband. I really hope it's okay to post this as a 3-party. I care a lot for them, and as much as I, F32, can understand what happens from her point of view, I still feel that there's something she is not getting. It would be ideal that they made the post, but they don't speak English, and I really trust the ability of this subreddit to solve problems. They got married in 2016. There were issues at the start because of his neurotic mother and childish sisters. But apart from that, I don't know much. She kept their problems very private. I only knew they separated months after, in 2019, and she said she was living in a friend's house for a month. At the beginning of 2020, they started to be a couple again, but didn't live together. They wanted to go easy and repair things. Down to the issue, a couple of months ago she met a guy friend with whom she started to get along really well. She was happy when she told me about him. Even I suspected a bit that she had a crush or something, but she states that she don't, and since she is still with her husband I believe that. She says that she feels very comfortable with him because he is very straightforward and taut, so she can say whatever is in her mind and whatever she feels without worrying about hurting feelings or and the other person feeling upset and or angry. She really feels free and enjoys being with him. She told me at some point that they agree with her husband to meet when they feel like they want to be together and spend time, and not all the time, because they should, so they are taking it lightly. But this means that she spends 3 times more with this guy friend than her husband, and they text all the time. As bad as this sound, the husband heard from a friend in common that knows him that he said her husband is a cuckold. I'm doing a fine walk at any time I fuck her asterisk. I hope I'm using the right term here, which it's a pretty strong accusation. My sister sustains that that's only guy talk, and maybe he was being rude because he was with other guys. She told him from the beginning that she was married and they stood friends, but later on, he confesses that he started to like her, that if he sees that he can't control what he feels or starts feeling hurt he would leave. In my opinion that was a tactic, but okay. The thing is that she is very determined in saying I put my limits. I told him right away that I'm married and whatever he feels I can't get responsible for. I told my husband I get proposals every day. He just has to trust that I chose him. To add a bit more info, my sister is very fiscally effective. She likes to hug a lot, and she has male friends that she hugs from before all this, and it was technically all good. Also, she has very close friends with whom can talk about their personal problems. She is used to that. Her husband is not very fiscally effective and not always can comfort. He is kinda rough and jumps to advise. So they both kind of agree that is good for her to have someone to rely on in those situations. She states there cannot be one person that covers all the needs in every area, which it's technically logical. But here is the thing, she is very good at arguing and using logic. She's logic can be infallible, and you can often feel losing to that. I personally think that she uses logic for her own benefits to get her way, because she is technically not doing anything wrong. But she is falling at realizing that there's more about it than logic, and she should consider and be empathic toward her husband's feelings. Much more if they are working to repair their relationship. She is not making him her priority, either spending time, texting, or doing activities together. She is not putting a limit on this new friend. She answers him all the time. They go out frequently, go to his house, and vice versa. It's like, even that she says there's not a chance verbally. I'm not sure that she is saying it by her attitude. She is letting him in, not putting any boundaries. The only boundary she is putting is sex and romance, but everything else is on the table. And about him, I don't trust him. She texted her good morning and good night. She texted when she knows that she is spending time with her husband. And I think that if you had a friend that you care about who has a rough path with her partner, you should step aside and give them a chance to work things out. And being constantly with her, it's disrespectful. I don't think that my sister is fully aware of what is happening. She might just be too naive and thinks that because she considers stuff some way everyone is gonna agree with that logic. Like a hugging man, my brother said, because I was with them, when she asked her that many men hear the no as a possible yes or as I can change your mind. So probably he's still with that on mind. That's why I think that she should put a limit, waiting more to text him, not spending that much time together, talking less, etc. And to sum up, my fear long term is that her husband ended up feeling too hurt by not feeling prioritized, and the threat of this guy, that he started getting cold and indifferent and distance himself. I don't know if she realizes that that is at stake. Point I talked to him, and he says I know my days are counted, as in, he knows that can't stay in this situation much longer. And they talk about pretty much everything I say in here, but she is so good at arguing that himself told me I can't do anything against that. I go read a book and come back. Any experience on the matter will be appreciated. Edit. It is not my intention to get in the way of them or force her to change her mind. I believe in the power of communication, and by that, you can help them have a different perspective and expand their perception. That could lead to having more options than they haven't considered yet. But I don't want to influence her through manipulation. Edit 2. Now I see that, rather than a solution, I would like to hear you telling me about your plane of view on this. Sometimes some distance makes seeing things more clear, as someone said in a comment. Now for the advice. You can't fix other people's relationships for them. If she doesn't want to put in the work to save the relationship, there's no way you can make her want that. Even if you could talk to her and somehow get her to change, she'd be doing it for you and not for her husband. As a last ditch effort you could recommend couples counseling, but I doubt she'd want to go. She's just too selfish to realize there's any need. Even if you tell her outright, and he does too, I don't think you can help. She uses tight logic to deflect attempts to discuss it. She knows your thoughts are valid, and that's how she avoids letting you make the points you have outlined here. She clearly wants to keep her options open. If she wanted to be with her husband, she would be with him. If she wanted to be with this other man, she would be with him. And one of those things has happened. Actions speak louder than words. I feel like you feel badly for the husband, and that perhaps you don't want them to get divorced. I don't think your sister feels the same way. Is divorce difficult in your country? Can your sister support herself? The bottom line is that everyone here is an adult, and you just have to let them sort it out. You're a good sister, take care. All I know, for pretty certain anyway, is this friendship is going to end bad. What is most likely happening is, in the friend's mind and heart, clearly your sister is his. Despite her insisting there is no romance, there's at least an ongoing emotional affair happening here. If she ended this friendship, she'd probably break the poor boy's heart, or he might become one of those awful stalker/obsessives. But her ending the friendship, affair of the heart, with the guy, that is what really has to happen. Other than expressing your concerns to her at least one time, so she knows what they are. I just don't know how you can help or change/prevent the mess and disaster that very likely awaits as the story unfolds and things change, as they always do. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, as it really motivates me to make more of these videos.